Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. As my mother used to say, aging is not for the faint of heart. Many people are reluctant to talk about getting older, its challenges, or even its great pleasures. My guest today took that challenge head on, as she has with so many things in her extraordinary life, by writing a book about aging. I am honored that my guest today is former Vermont Governor Madeleine Kunin. Following a remarkable career as a diplomat, author, and stateswoman, Kunin wrote and published her fourth book, Coming of Age: My Journey into the 80s. Today we'll explore her insights, musings, and more about what aging means to her. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, it's a pleasure, Fran. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, I loved your book, but you know, what was the impulse to write a book about aging, about what we need to make sense of what happens as we age?
Well, I was going through a new experience of aging, and I saw the changes in my life of both physical and mental and emotional. And I also, in a strange way, having been a politician where I had to be careful of what I said, I found I was entering a new stage of life where I could say more, and I could be more vulnerable in a way by revealing my emotions. And I started to write poetry. So poetry seemed a good medium to express these thoughts. And then I could share them with other people. I found I was not alone, that the book has resonated not just with older people, but with some young people too.
Absolutely. The poetry is wonderful. And this beautiful sense of humor that, you know, your other books are wonderful, but pretty straight ahead. There's this wonderful sense of humor that people are introduced to there. And you do write very openly and personally about dealing with physical challenges and changes, but also sex and romance in this. What kind of feedback, you were talking about, you've gotten really good feedback from all ages, but what kind of feedback, or what surprised you about the feedback?
Well, what surprised me is that people connected to it. They saw themselves. And I have to confess that before the book was published, I was pretty anxious. You know, have I said too much? Will I be understood? Am I too vulnerable? But then, lo and behold, at least people haven't said to me, you said too much. They've just enjoyed reading, you know, everything from as you get older, having to use the bathroom more often, to falling in love again.
Right, right. Well, let's go there, because romance re-entered your life as you moved into your 70s, following a decade of being on your own, but a very busy decade. You were in Washington, D.C., and ambassador in Switzerland. How did that delightful surprise of new love change your life, or even your perspective on life?
Well, it changed a great deal. It was a very happy time, and it was unexpected. You know, as I was in my late 70s, I just no, I was in my early 70s.
Early 70s. Then he was in his late 70s.
Yes,
John, right?
Yes. And we just hit it off. I mean, we found so much in common. And the two most important things we had in common, in my view, were, one, he was a Democrat, and two, he was a feminist. And so he really supported women and listened to women seriously. So we had so much to enjoy together, everything from going to concerts to watching the news and seeing what was happening in this chaotic world. And we just had common threads that wove very, very strong fabric between us.
And such lovely intimacy that you describe. And I think it gives many people hope. I think a lot of people, if they are not partnered after 50 or 60, that's it. But it's not true.
Not true.
Yeah.
And it wasn't social media that brought us together.
You were working on the committee or something, right?
Well, we knew of each other.
Yeah, you knew each other.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, sadly, John, your wonderful husband, passed away a little over a year ago. What did you learn from his passing about letting go, about him letting go of a very full life, of you letting go of him?
Well, it's very hard. No matter what the circumstances or what age you are, it leaves a vacuum in your life when you lose somebody. But then life goes on, and he was ready to let go. I can't say that I was, but it's another new experience. You know, as you get older, you do think more about death because it's closer.
Sure.
You know, when you're young, you're convinced you're going to live forever, and that's something you don't have to even think about. But all of us would like a painless, quick death, and that's what we hope for.
And or making a decision, it's time to let go, which is a huge decision.
Right.
And he was
Right.
ready. Certainly, because of that, time takes on a new meaning as we get older. Some people feel the sense of urgency. Some people just want to slow down, and they're fine with that. How do you make decisions about use of time, whether it's vacation or friends or family or work, adventure? How do you manage that
Well, that's a
sense of urgency?
very important question, and I guess in a way we think about it all our lives. How do we manage time? But when you have less time left, it becomes more acute and more intense. And I think, you know, there's a sort of a tension between taking it easy, sitting in the old rocking chair and watching the world go by, or plunging into what is going on in the world and in your community. And so it's sort of a balance between the two. I think my schedule has slowed down since I was governor or ambassador, and I have more choice in where I would like to spend my time. But I think the key is still to go out there and to take some risks and recognize that while you're alive, you can still enjoy life and find new friendships and new experiences, and you appreciate them.
Right. And I see you certainly doing that, and also through your poetry, you also when you do take the time to sit in a chair, you're just taking in all of nature or whatever it is. You're very focused on that moment, which is also quite beautiful.
Yeah, and I felt liberated in a way, being older and being out of the public eye in the way that I used to be. I could say what I felt and thought. Still, there's some sifting, you know, leaving out things that might be troublesome, but much less as I got older. I just felt I could open up.
Right. Well, on that, you know, after defending feminism for so long and so well, what is your view of ageism in America or even in Europe? You know, some people kind of feel that, you know, older people are ignored or become invisible. Of course, as a public person, that would not happen to you. But what do you see about ageism in America?
Well, we tend to be dismissed as having perhaps an interesting past, but not being in the present. And of course, I don't live exclusively in Vermont. When I visit my daughter in New York and I walk down Fifth Avenue, there's never any eye contact, or everybody's just rushing to be where they're headed. And yeah, there is an invisibility factor in aging, especially for women.
Right.
We see it, but it's not impenetrable. I mean, you can still write a book.
Absolutely.
You can still do a painting. You can still be a person who is growing and changing. I mean, growth and development don't stop when you're 65.
Right. Well, certainly, it's a bit of an issue in the presidential primary. Just quickly, should that be a consideration? Age?
Well, that's the $64 question.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a defining factor? And I think the fact that there are 6 women running for office, I mean, some of them have dropped out since, but is quite extraordinary. And people used to say, well, I won't vote for Hillary because I don't like her. I'd vote for another woman. Well, now they've got the other women to choose from. So I think it's more normal to see a woman running for president. Whether it'll be an obstacle in the end, we can't tell.
Yeah, all right. So what gives you this incredible energy? What are your sources of inspiration and nourishment? Is it poetry, to continue to function in a top capacity as you seem to be doing?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I could bottle it. And I don't always have energy. I mean, there are times in the slow afternoon where I succumb to taking a nap, which I never did before when I was younger. But I'm still interested. I'm still interested in what's going on. I'm curious, and maybe curiosity gives you energy.
Okay, and your poetry, and you think you're going to come out with yet another book, and
Yes.
just of poetry.
Right.
Okay.
I'm working on that now.
Exciting, wonderful, and just living calmly. I think a lot of people live in fear. Your secret for kind of living more calmly about being near death.
Well, I think when you say near death, that kind
Nearer.
of nearer, yes, no, it's true. But carpe diem,
Yeah.
live for the moment.
Okay. Madeleine Kunin, thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure to speak to you. I hope to be seeing you again here soon.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.